First of all, I'd like to congratulate Tennessee. I think they really played well this weekend, and you can see why they have had the success that they have had. First of all, their pitching was outstanding, and their defense was suffocating, really. Their shortstop, left side of the infield, really, third baseman, shortstop, were just really, really outstanding. And, you know, especially in yesterday's game, late in the game, the plays that they made, really kept us from winning, I think. And they got a bunch of gamers. They got a lot of clutch hits. And, so you can see why they win. As for us, I was really, really proud of our team the first two games, the way they fought and scratched and clawed and really competed. Today was a little bit different. Every guy in our lineup had a hit. Every single guy in our lineup had at least one hit. But we left 11 runners on base, and we had 2 RBI singles. And you're just not going to beat a team like Tennessee when you only score 2 runs. So obviously we didn't come through in a lot of clutch situations. We had a lot of opportunities. We had the right guys up at the plate, and it just didn't happen for us today. And then we hit into 3 double plays. We only struck out 5 times. Sometimes I would rather see us strike out than take defensive swings where we just hit ground balls, weak ground balls. But it just wasn't our day today. I don't think we pitched horrible. We didn't play bad defense. I don't think we made an error. Everybody got a hit, but somehow, we got beat by 5 runs. So, there's just another gear that you got to put it in to be able to beat a really good team. Somebody's got to do something extraordinary on your team. You got to have somebody drive in 4 or 5 runs. You got to have a pitcher that does something really outstanding. And we just didn't, we didn't have that today. And so it was, a victory for them. And, we didn't play horrible baseball, but we just didn't play winning baseball. And so we have to take our medicine. I will say this, I'm really glad the month of March is over, because when I looked at that March schedule, we just recapped it with the team. We had Oklahoma come in, who's a really good, solid team with great pitching, and we competed like crazy against them 3 games. I thought left it all out there on the field, and if we hold on to a 9th inning lead, we win the series. We get off to a decent start. But then you're staring at Arkansas, and you're staring at Tennessee, and basically the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. In my opinion, 2 best teams in the country. And, we went over to Arkansas the first 2 games. We weren't really competitive. Third game had a chance to win. Couldn't finish it off. And then, Tennessee comes in, and I think, we competed like crazy the first 2 games, and this third game just kind of methodically we got beat. But I'm glad we don't play those 2 teams again. And not that anybody left on our schedule is going to be easy. I can assure you that. But there's something special about those 2 teams, in my opinion. It would not surprise me to see those 2 teams being the final 2 teams standing at the end of the year. So, when we strap it up against Presbyterian on Tuesday, we need to win a baseball game. I hate losing more than anybody, believe me. And it's a very distasteful thing. I don't care if you're playing the Yankees 7 times in a row. Just to lose 7 games in a row is very, it's very discouraging when that happens. Disappointing, not discouraging, disappointing. But the important thing for us is not to get discouraged and go out there on Tuesday and play as well as we can play. We're gonna treat Tuesday like it's the 7th game of the World Series. Whatever it takes to win we need to win a baseball game. Whatever it takes, we're not holding anything back, and we're gonna go out there and play as hard and as well as we possibly can to attempt to win a game. And then after that, we'll turn the page and go to Starkville, and hopefully we'll compete hard there and have some success. We'll see. It's not an easy place to go, despite what their record is. But it's also a little different than having to play these last 2 teams. These 2 teams are well put together, and they play well on the field. So not that anything's going to be easy, but whew, glad we're done with those two teams.
What did you think of Matthew Decker's outing, the first 3 innings and then the fourth? What did you kind of notice that maybe was just different after he hit the first half of the pitch?
He pitched great for 3 innings, and then the fourth inning he pitched very poorly. He hit the first batter, and then after that he made some poor pitches. He wanted to throw a change-up to the last guy, which I think was a poor pitch selection. He had his curveball going. Today was the best curveball I've seen him have all year. And he had just struck out a batter with a really good curveball, and then decided he wanted to throw a changeup on the first pitch to the next batter. And guys smoked a base hit and gave him their 4th run. So, he was great for 3 innings. His best curveball I've seen him have all year. It was very encouraging, but he didn't pitch well in the 4th inning. I can't tell you exactly why, but
you mentioned the month of March and the opponents you guys have faced. There's been a ton of times like today where runners in scoring position and you just can't come through with that clutch hit like you were talking about. Do you see any sort of tendencies or similarities over the last month with those situations, or no?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the question. Are you talking about like mechanically as hitters?
Just with the clutch opportunities, is there any sort of
You know,
similarities or just good pitching?
I think it's a little of both. I mean, the pitching we've been facing is extraordinary. These guys probably leading the country in pitching. Their team ERA was 2 coming in, and we scored 2 today. But the last 2 days, we did better. We hit in the clutch. Last night, or yesterday afternoon and the night before, we had some clutch hits. We had 2 clutch hits today. Gavin Braylon played his heart out both days, Whitey came through with a big hit, and later on when we had another opportunity, he didn't. You tell me what's the difference between one at bat or the other, I mean, personally, I think Whitey was a little too selective. You threw him a couple off-speed pitches and he took strikes. It goes back to the age-old question. Everybody, when guys swing for early in the count and make outs, everybody criticizes you for not working the count. When they work the count and the guy strikes out, then they say he wasn't aggressive enough. So the only thing that works is whatever works. You know what I mean? And personally, I think I would have liked what I teach is that we shouldn't have been looking for the perfect pitch there. I mean, you're the 3-hole hitter of an SEC team. You got the bases loaded, nobody out. They're not just going to lay one right down the middle for you. So you've got to adapt. And even if he just takes an off-speed pitch for a fly ball to left field, he gets us a run in. And, he strikes out. Kennedy hits into a double play, and we go back with nothing at it after having working hard to get the bases loaded, nobody out. It's a difference between winning and losing. It's the clutch hitting. I mean, I've been coaching for 40 years. Nothing's changed. We can do all the metrics we want. The teams that rise up and come through in the clutch situations generally are the teams that win. Today we didn't. We did twice, but not enough.
You mentioned, obviously, the Oklahoma series, the first 2 games of this weekend. You guys scrapped and clawed in those games. At what point today did you kind of feel like, as you mentioned, something just felt different? Was it just something in the dugout where you just kind of noticed like the mood was different, or you guys kind of went behind there?
The mood wasn't different, Jack. It was just we didn't have people coming through in clutch situations. It wasn't. I just described the bases loaded, nobody out situation, and you got your 3- and 4-hole hitters coming up. I mean, those guys are supposed to drive in the runs for you, and they didn't. And before that inning, we had other situations. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the play-by-play, but we had other situations as well. Maybe not to that extreme, bases loaded, nobody out. But we just couldn't. Nobody could come up and hit the ball hard. And good big. I think one situation, Carry-On was up with a runner on third, and his instruction is to the infield's back in the middle of the field. I believe I have a saying that I use. branch Ricky used in the 20s. Luck is the residue of design. So Carrion comes up, hits the ball pretty good, but right at the third baseman, so we can't score the run. He's the only infielder that's playing in. But what should he be trying to do there? He should be trying to hit a ground ball in the middle of the infield where the infielders are back, and then you don't have bad luck. Guy scores from third, and we pick up a big run there. So we left a run off the board there. We left runners off the board later on when, as I mentioned, Jace should try to hit that off-speed pitch to the opposite field, hit a fly ball. So, those add up over the course of the game. And it's nothing different about the mood in the dugout or whatever. I told the guys, I said, hey, we had 10 hits. Every single guy in the lineup had a hit. We only struck out 5 times, and we didn't have any horrible pitching performances, Just didn't play well enough to win because we didn't hit in the clutch. We left 11 runners on base. And some days, it's hard to explain why it happens. Other days you'd come through. Some days you don't. It's been the proverbial question forever, why does that happen in this sport? But today wasn't our day.